Now moving along to the consent agenda, I'll ask our Deputy City Manager to come forward to the microphone. You're going to do it from there? That's fine to do it from there. Okay. First item on our consent agenda is to consider authorizing the City Manager to execute a contract extension.
Mayor, this item is a renewal of our office supply contract with Office Depot that allows us to purchase our supplies at a substantial discount through a national purchasing consortium. It is a simple renewal.
Thank you. Item number 5 is to consider authorizing the purchase of a lightning detection and warning system.
This would authorize the purchase of a lightning early detection and warning system that can be used for major outdoor venues in Euless to help us alert our citizens of potentially dangerous weather conditions. And this item was budgeted for in our FY14 budget.
Item number 6 is to consider authorizing the purchase of police patrol sedans.
This would authorize the purchase of 4 police sedans through the Tarrant County contract with Silsbee Ford at a cost of $113,424, and this was also within our budget.
Item number 7 is to consider authorizing the purchase of an asphalt zipper.
Mayor, the asphalt zipper would be used to aid in street repairs, specifically to allow the staff to make street cuts without having to do that manually. And this purchase would be through a HGAC purchasing contract at a cost of $124,990. And this was also included in our budget and is within that budget amount.
Item number 8 is to consider authorizing the purchase of a loader backhoe.
This item would be used by our Public Works Department. We are asking for this purchase also through an HGAC contract with Associated Supply Company in Euless. The cost is $114,758, and that is also below the amount that was budgeted.
Item number 9 is to consider authorizing the purchase of 3 heart monitor defibrillators.
Mayor, these 3 heart monitor defibrillators would be used by our city's fire department in the city's ambulances. The cost is $117,879 and is a normal scheduled replacement that was budgeted for also in our fiscal year budget.
And item number 10 is a resolution 131418 authorizing the mayor to execute the North Central Texas Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement.
This agreement would allow the city of Euless to provide and receive assistance from other cities within the area during an emergency situation, specifically within the public works departments. This would formalize the responsibility of each of the cities and provide that the services that are provided within the first 36 hours of a response are provided at no cost.
And item number 11 is to consider approval of the City Council minutes. And that will be of the regular meeting of October the 22nd. So items number 4 through 11 are your consent agenda items, Council. What is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Stenderfoot and seconded by Councilperson Allenfeld. Any further discussion? If not, cast your votes, please. The consent agenda has been approved. Item number 12 is to consider award of bid number 1013 for the construction of street improvements to Cullum Drive. Are you going to come and speak to us tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The action requested is for the award of the bid to McClendon Construction for the construction of the street improvements on Cullum Drive from State Highway 10 to East Hewitt Lane, and authorize the city manager to execute that contract with this company, as well as authorize a contingency in the amount of $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I'll move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg and seconded by Councilperson Stenderfoot to approve bid number 1013. Is there further discussion, Council? This is near and dear to your heart, Mr. Hogg, right?
Yes.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, please cast your vote. bid number 1013 has been approved. Item number 13 is to hold a public hearing for specific use permit 1310 and then consider the first and final reading of ordinance number 2015. And this is to request a specific use permit in the Oakwood Terrace North Edition. Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much, Mayor. As you indicated, the location of the property is 1600 West Euless Boulevard. That would be on the northwest corner of Wilshire and Highway 10. The new HEB auxiliary facility is being constructed to the north and to the east from this site that Mr. Ocampo hopes will bring him some additional customers to his store. The current specific use permit that Adams Automotive is operating under is tied to that business name. The owner of the business, Mr. Ocampo, has reorganized his business, and his new company will be known as Adams Auto Service Enterprises, LLC. That needs to be reflected in a new SUP that y'all are being asked to consider this evening. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval of a new SUP for Adams Automotive that would be tied to his new business name, Adams Auto Service Enterprises, LLC. And you can see specifically identified in your agenda communication are 10 specific conditions. I might specifically point to your condition number 7. Since the last time y'all were asked to consider a specific use permit for this land use, it did not specifically identify the automotive services that he offers from his business. The intent of the condition number 7 is to identify what those automotive services businesses are that he would be providing from this location. Again, the Planning and Zoning Commission had considered this at its last regularly scheduled meeting, and has recommended approval. And I know Mr. Ocampo is here with us this evening and would be available to respond to any specific questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. We are in a public hearing, so do we have anyone that would like to speak for this specific use permit? Any proponents? Do we have any opponents? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval with the aforementioned comments and P&Z for the SCP. I do have a couple comments from Mr. Campo, though.
Let's get a second. You move approval for it. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Mayor Davis.
Mr. Campo, can you come to the microphone?
Good evening. My name is Dano Campo, and I've been in Euless for 20 years, and I'm very proud to be here in this city. I like working in this city.
Thank you.
Mr. Campo, we're neighbors. I just want to let you know you're a good neighbor. I appreciate what you've done, how you cleaned your place up. It looks really good. And I really wanted to come up here to let you know that's how I felt about that. Being a neighbor, living in that neighborhood, you've done a good job about cleaning your place up, and it's a well-run business at this point. So I just want to make those comments to you personally.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that.
Is that it, Mr. Bowman? Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions from the council? If not, the motion has been made by Councilperson Bowman and seconded by Councilperson Allenfeld to approve this SUP. If there are no other comments, would you cast your vote? It has been approved. Ordinance number 2015 has been approved. Item number 14 is to hold another public hearing, and this is regarding the plan development 1303, and then to consider the first and final reading of ordinance number 2016. Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much, Mayor. As you indicated, the location of the proposed development would be at 2907 Bays Road. It is currently zoned R1 single family detached. There is an existing home on that property. The applicant is Bloomfield Homes. Mr. Dykstra has joined us this evening and would be available for any questions. On behalf of Bloomfield Homes, they are proposing to develop this acreage that is located on the west side of Bays Road, south of Glade Road. The hard corner there with PD 1701 is the Cat Hospital. Across the street to the west is the Ashbrook Estates. Just to familiarize yourself with existing residential developments that surround this particular parcel. If approved, the PD would allow the development of an 8-lot subdivision. The average lot size would be approximately 7,600 square feet. The minimum dwelling size would permit a 2,200 square foot home to be constructed, but please notice that the average of the dwelling unit side would have to be 2,800 square feet, as has been approved by the City Council in at least 3 previous developments proposed by Bloomfield. There are very specific architectural design features that would be approved as part of the PD ordinance. Some of those architectural standards would include that there would be a minimum roof pitch of 8 to 12, ornamental lighting, that they would meet the masonry standards of the city with at least 20% stone or detailed architectural design elements as depicted on the picture that you see on the screen, and that within the subdivision that the same elevation would not be repeated more than 2 times, that they would provide aggregate driveways, and that they would provide a minimum of 130 square feet of front porch or rear patio deck. Again, this is a depiction of the architectural design standards that would be proposed, that would be adopted as part of the planned development ordinance to create this 8-lot subdivision. Again, Mr. Don Dykstra is here representing Bloomfield Homes and would be available to respond to any specific questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. You're in a public hearing, and I wonder, do we have anyone that would like to speak for this planned development? If you'd like to come forward, Mr. Dykstra. Good evening.
Don Dykstra, opposite Euless at 100 Ridgewood. I didn't do a formal presentation. I figured you'd seen it before, so I wouldn't take any more of your time. It's just we're very pleased to have another project proposed for Euless, and we would ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Answer questions if there are.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponents for this planned development? Do we have any opponents for the development? If not, then I'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Allenfeld and seconded by Councilperson Stenhoven. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Dykstra, I'd like to thank you for continuing to bring wonderful housing options to our citizens of Euless. You built a great product, and we're happy to have you here.
And you have enough of them going on that we're going to keep you for a while. If there are no further comments, then we get to vote. Ordinance number 2016 has been approved. Thank you. We look forward to another great development. Item number 15 is to consider granting an exception to Section 84-411 of the Unified Development Code. Would you like to just explain this, Mr. Collins?
I would love to, Mayor. Thank you very much. Mr. Lyons owns a parcel of property on North Industrial Boulevard. He has a willing buyer of approximately 1.2 acres of that property.
Show us where it is.
This is depicted on this map. Let me see if we've got a better graphic. This is the site. This property would be immediately south of the PTP, which is near the hard corner of Harwood and 157. So come to the south, and this is where this property would be. We're farther to the north from where the Dairy Queen had been constructed on the east side of FM 157. What he would desire to do is to carve out a 1.2 acre parcel from the approximately 6 acres that he has preliminary platted. However, our existing ordinance would require that a conveyance plat would be a minimum of 5 acres in order to have that approved without having to complete public improvements and go through a final platting. The buyer that would propose to purchase this property does not intend to develop this property perhaps for as long as a year from now, and is simply not prepared to install the public improvements. In your consideration of granting an exemption to the 5-acre minimum requirement, you might ask yourself about the community's interest being protected. In this particular situation, the property is surrounded by the infrastructure, the water and sewer service necessary to support the future development of this property. So if the council were to grant the exemption to the 5-acre minimum to allow him to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission for a conveyance plat, following that approval, they would begin the final platting process and then move on to the site planning process, which would ensure that the necessary infrastructure and public improvements necessary to support the development would be completed. And of course, the requirements associated with the final plat would have to be satisfied before any building permit would be issued to allow the construction of that development. So if y'all were favorably to consider the exception to the 5-acre minimum, the community's interest would be protected to ensure that all of the requirements of the planning and site plan would be satisfied.
Thank you. And planning and zoning approved this?
No, ma'am. In this particular instance, it's the City Council's discretion to consider this only.
Thank you.
Mike, can I ask a question before you sit down?
Yes, sir.
On the plan up there, it's very hard to tell, of the 6 acres, where are the boundaries? I assume the boundaries on the right, I can see.
Exactly.
It looks like there's kind of a boundary halfway down the middle there, and then...
I think this Steve is going to try to put it up that far.
Yeah, that's just depicting some topo lines. That does not indicate the plat.
Okay, so it doesn't go all the way there. Okay, I was concerned that it was just down the middle there, and that wasn't going to...
Exactly, and then the corner
get in.
Okay.
there on the bottom right is what would be carved out as the 1.2 acre parcel.
What's just to
Thank you, Steve.
the south of that lot?
It's currently undeveloped property as well.
And where is super value?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, to the south is the super value.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I confused that.
Okay, council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilperson Staniford and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg to approve the exception 84-411 of the Unified Development Code. Cast your votes, please.
Before we leave this topic, can I ask Mr. Collins a question? Before we leave the topic. Mr. Collins, it seems like this is an extreme burden on the property owner. Is there something we can do in that ordinance to lessen the burden on the property owner to have to go through such an ordeal to be able to conduct this type of business?
The action that you took was to grant an exception to what is currently included in the code. It certainly would be the City Council's opportunity to consider a permanent amendment that would do away with the 5-acre minimum. But in another perspective, however, not that I would not recommend y'all consider that. In 12 years, this has been the only property owner that has requested an exception for that.
Well, that's what I was trying to think. I mean, I can't recall it just coming up in my time, but I was just curious. I didn't know I've never seen it before. It looks like to me there's just a lot of burden. So, I mean, we don't have that many large tracts either to be able, that's not platted.
Exactly, and that aren't surrounded by infrastructure to support development.
Thank you. Item number 16 is to consider the first and final reading of ordinance number 2017, appointing a municipal court judge for a 2-year term. What's your pleasure, council?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. The The motion has been made by Councilperson Allenfeld and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg to appoint a municipal judge for a 2-year term. Further discussion? If not, motion votes. The judge has, a municipal court judge has been appointed. Mr. Olson, were you going to say something on that? Yes.
I was just going to suggest that your name for the judge is going to be in your,
The next one says that.
okay, we'll cover it in the next slide.
Will you explain why we have to do this every 2 years?
Yes, this is because of state law. The city of Euless has a municipal court of record, and by state law, the judge for the municipal court of record is appointed to the 2-year term or a 4-year term and must be appointed by ordinance. So that's why the council took the action that it did.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
You're welcome.
Item number 17 is to consider the extension of a contract for the municipal court judge. Well, now what's your pleasure, council?
Mayor, I move approval of extending the contract for Judge Lacey Britton.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
The motion is made by Councilperson Steniford and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg to approve the appointment of the municipal court judge, Judge Lacey Britton. Is there further comment? If not, cast your vote. The judge has been reappointed for 2 years, and Lacey Britton is our municipal court judge. Item number 18 is to consider Resolution 131415. This is casting votes for the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors for a 2-year term beginning January the 21st, 2014. What is your pleasure, Council?
Mayor, I would make a motion that we split our votes, 11 for John Datloff and 11 for John Eubank.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg and seconded by Councilperson Bynum. Is there further discussion on this?
Could the manager explain actually what we're stepping into, so people in the audience really don't know what's going on with this motion?
Well, the city of Euless has 22 votes out of, I think it's around 5,000 votes totally throughout all the taxing entities in Tarrant County to cast towards this ballot of board of directors that serve as the board of the Tarrant Appraisal District. It's a critical role to us as citizens, as property owners, as business people, and as taxing entities. And John Datloff, who Mr. Hogg recommended casting 11 votes for, is a longtime resident of Euless. And John Eubanks, who previously served on the Tarrant Appraisal District Board, is a resident of Colleyville, and both representing Northeast Tarrant County. And they're both good selections, and it's a critical board, and we hope we can get one of them appointed for both of them.
Is there further comment? If not, cast your vote. Thank you, and our votes have been split between John Datloff and John Eubanks. Item number 19 is to consider the board and commission appointments.
Mayor, I make a motion that the council appoint and approve the following people. The City of Euless Boards and Commissions, all the terms that I will read will expire on December 31st, 2015, unless otherwise indicated. Animal Shelter Advisory Board, Gayla Moss and Michelle Watson. Civil Service Commission with a 3-year term in place 2, John Datloff, which will expire December 31st of 2016, and alternate number 1, Jimmy Payton, will expire 12/31/14. Euless Development Corporation, Sonia Adams, Wayne Mars, Carmen Datloff, Mayor Lipsala, Councilmember Linda Martin, Councilmember Glenn Porterfield, Councilmember Tim Stiniford. The Euless Industrial Development, which is comprised of City Council members in place 6, Linda Eilenfeld, expiring 12/31/14. The Historical Preservation Commission, Marilyn Long and Andrew Weinzackel. The council will appoint the chair as Bill Golden, and the council will appoint the vice chair as Barbara Collier. The Library Board, in place 1, Alan Gibbs. In place 3, Mike McGehee. In place 6, Loretta Doty. Alternate number 1, Carol Kavek, expires 12/31/2014. And alternate 2, Jason Reyes, expires 12/31/2014. The Parks and Leisure Services Board, in place 2, John Rabb. In place 3, Randy Jones. In place 5, Carl Miller, expiring 12/31/2014. In place 6, Tiffany Smith. Alternate number 1, Steve Doty, expires 12/31/2014. And alternate number 2, Roger Sickler, expires 12/31/2014. Planning and Zoning Commission, in place 1, George Zahn. In place 2, Monty Huffman. In place 3, Luann Portugal. The CIAC Ad Hoc Voting Member, Ad Hoc Member Ronald Dunkel. Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 3, Marilyn Sala, expires 12/31/2014. Zoning Board of Adjustment and the Housing and Structures Board, place 1, Robert Wooldridge. Place 2, Clarence Moore. Alternate number 1, Ronald Dunkel. Alternate number 2, Kenny Olmstead. And the Teen Court Board, place 2, Renew Sloan. Alternate number 1, Priscilla Cawley. Alternate number 2, Chris Sandlin, expiring 12/31/2014.
Is that it? Yes. Thank you, Ms. Eilenfeld. Are there any comments?
Repeat that.
The motion has been made, but I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is made by Ms. Councilperson Eilenfeld and seconded by Councilperson Stiniford. Now, are there further discussions? If not, cast your votes. These board and commission members have been approved, and they will start their period of service